Hey, welcome to your first lesson. This is going to be Introduction to Plants. Before we get started, I want to show you how you can set up your screen so that you can take notes in your virtual notebook and watch the lesson at the same time. So the first thing you want to do, if you notice I have all these tabs open, but I only want 2 tabs. I want the one that I am teaching to you the lesson. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold that tab down and you're going to drag it over till you get this phantom box. And then you're just going to let go. And that'll resize the screen for you automatically to take up half of your screen. And the other one I want is the virtual notebook. So to access your virtual notebook, you're going to go into your Google Drive. And if it's not in your recents, then you can find it in the classwork folder or the Google Classroom folder, and then you're going to find My Class, and then you're going to double click on that, and your notebook will be right in there. So you're going to open that up, and it's going to open in a tab. So you want to take that tab and you want to drag it to the opposite side till you get that phantom screen, and then you're going to let go. Then you're going to minimize this. So now you have your video on one side and your notebook on the other. All these tabs work right here. So the first one we're going to do is Intro to Plants. So you want to click on that, and you're going to jump right to that one. Now that'll take you to the table of contents. And this is so that when you're taking your quiz, you can just kind of jump straight, all these work, you can jump straight to that question, or you can just, click over here. So we're going to go to the first page. Okay. I can still see this. This is good enough for me to write. Now remember, all of these, you can click in the text boxes and you can type in these. All this other stuff, you cannot move. Okay, you can only click to where there is a text box. So now that we have that set up, I am going to close out of this so that I can just do my lesson, and we're going to go from there. So hopefully you have watched the Introduction to Plants video that I put on the Nearpod for you. And then, so I asked you, what are the 3 things that, why plants are so very important to us to survive on this planet? And that would be food, shelter, and oxygen. And as we go along in these lessons, you will learn about all of those and how they are produced by the plants. All right, so there are 2 types of plants that are found on this planet. There are what are called vascular plants, and there are non-vascular plants. And if we go back to our notes, you will notice that on the first page, it asks you of a family tree. As you go along the presentation, you should be able to fill out each level of this plant family tree. So the very first ones are asking you, what are the 2 main types of plants found on this planet? Well, I just told you. They're going to be vascular. And then on this side is going to be non-vascular. Okay, so you're going to type those in right there. You want to make sure that the vascular plants are on this side because that's the majority of what we're going to talk about. And you'll see the arrows go down to this and then to this. All right, so that does matter. All right, back to it. Oh, wait, so for the first question, though, it asks you, what is a vascular plant? So let's go back here. All right, so vascular plants are believed to have originated from green algae. The earliest fossils are from the Silurian rocks, more than 400 million years old. Okay, so vascular plants are plants that use specialized tissue for transporting food and water to different areas in the plant. That right there is what I am looking for when I'm asking you, what is a vascular plant? So let's go back to our notes. What is a vascular plant? Plants that use special tissues to transport food and water. Period. That's it. That's all you have to write. And then if you have any spelling corrections, please make sure you make them. They will be underlined in red. Make sure you're using your capital letters where you're supposed to use them. Okay, you are in 6th grade now, so we're going to start paying attention to that kind of stuff. So our next question is, what are examples of vascular plants? So let's go back. All right, so examples of vascular plants include trees, flowers, grasses, and vines. Vascular plants have a root system, a shoot system, and a vascular system. So that is very important. So that's why we talk mostly about vascular plants, because the majority of the plants we come in contact with every day, with the exception of moss, liverworts, and algae, those three are non-vascular plants. Everything else that you come in contact with is going to be a vascular plant. It's going to have that special tissue for transporting food and water. It's going to have a root system, and it's going to have a shoot system. So you'll learn these in the coming lessons, that a root system is everything that grows below the soil line, right? With the exception of some stuff. And a shoot system is everything that grows above the soil line. So this whole entire part of the tree, from the stem, the leaves, anything that's produced on that tree, that is all part of the shoot system. And everything, all the roots growing below, are part of the root system. And then, of course, the vascular system would be those special tissues that transport food and water. So when we go back here to our notes, what are examples of vascular plants? So examples include, I got to go back because I can't think off the top of my head right at this moment. We have trees, flowers, grasses, and vines. So trees, flowers, grasses, and vines. Doesn't need to be anything specific. Any type of tree would qualify. If it produces flowers, it qualifies. If it's a grass, it qualifies. And if it's a vine, it qualifies as a vascular plant. Okay? So hopefully that part was easy for you. So we'll go back. The next question we're going to be looking at is, what are the two types of vascular plants? Make sure you include their age and units. All right, so the two major types of vascular plants. There is the gymnosperm and the angiosperm. The gymnosperm is believed to be about 350 million years ago, and angiosperms are 250 million years ago. So what that means, MYA, is millions of years ago. That means scientists can date fossils going all the way back to 350 million years ago, is when we consider to have seen the first gymnosperm. The angiosperm is dated back by fossils to be about 250 million years ago. So now that we have those answers, let's go back to our notebook. So the two types are gymnosperm, which is believed to be about 350 million years ago. Oh, what happened? I must not have my number lock on. 350 million years ago. That is very important to put the units, because if you put 350, that just means 350 years. Well, that's not the case. We're talking millions of years ago. All right, and then we have angiosperm is 250 million years ago. So you want to put that. Okay, very, very important. You put their age there as well. So hopefully you're pausing this as we go, and that way you can go at your own pace to take these notes and watch this video, and it would be a lot easier for you. Now, what we also want to do is we want to go back to our family tree, because now we've learned that there are two types of vascular plants found on the planet. So this one is going to be angiosperm, and then this one is going to be a gymnosperm. Okay? And if you need to extend your box or make it smaller, you can. You can also, I believe, change the size. Yep. Okay. So it fits in the box perfectly. Whatever is easiest for you. You'll play around with it. Okay. So let's go back. What's our next question? Oh, we have to go to the next page. So let's scroll down. Oh, it automatically jumped there for me. All right, so I already have these done. So hopefully you have an understanding of how you're supposed to be taking these notes. Okay, you're going to go in, you're going to type in. This one is going to be, when you learn about it, I have to fill it back in, is going to be a monocot, and this one is going to be a dicot. Okay? So I'm just going to go on with my lesson now. I'm not going to keep going back and forth, but I will tell you when to stop and take notes as I have a copy of the book in front of me. All right, so gymnosperms and angiosperms. Gymnosperms are 350 million years ago, while angiosperms are 250 million years ago. All right, so that's all great, but what are they? So a gymnosperm, so question number 4 is, what do gymnosperms produce? Okay, so gymnosperms do not, I repeat, they do not produce flowers. That is the biggest difference between a gymnosperm and an angiosperm, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So gymnosperms produce seeds within a cone, and it tells you that right there. If you look at this, this is a pine cone. This pine cone, when it's closed, right now it's opened. When it's closed, it's held very tight together. And gymnosperms or pine cones tend to be either male or female, meaning if they're male, they hold the pollen. If they're female, they hold the eggs. And when they open, either they release the pollen to be fertilized by the female, or they open as a female and release the seeds that again will fall to the ground. They will start growing and produce more trees. So your question to number 4 is, what do gymnosperms produce? They're going to produce seeds within a cone, okay? Or just put a cone. What nickname do we give them? They're called a naked seed. Well, why do we call them that? Because when we talk about angiosperms, we're going to say that they produce flowers, and within that flower, they produce a fruit, which will then carry your seeds. Gymnosperms do not produce flowers, therefore they cannot produce fruits. So we call them a naked seed because their seeds are not enclosed in a fruit. It's just a little bit of good information for you to know. Okay, if you jump to question number 6, how many known species of each vascular plant are there? So yes, you're skipping number 5 at the moment. We'll go back to that in a minute. Go to question number 6. There are 1,000 known species found on Earth today of gymnosperms. And 1,000 if you think about it. Look at the types or how many different species, okay, diversity, how big of a diversity we have of plants on this planet. 1,000, does that seem like a lot? Just something to think about, and we'll talk about it in a minute. So usually they're only unisexual, meaning their cones are either male or female, and these will be mostly woody trees and shrubs. Okay, so hopefully you've answered question number 6, where there's 1,000 known species of gymnosperms, and then we'll continue. So you might want to pause and write that down. All right, so these are just some examples of specific gymnosperms. So the first one, you could tell this is a pine tree. The needles look very familiar to you. We use these as Christmas trees. We see them out in the woods. They're green year-round, which we're going to talk about later. So these are called conifers. They adapt to cold regions. They have narrow leaves to conserve water. Another example is called a cycad. So these are found in tropical to subtropical areas, meaning very, very warm and wet. And these plants will either produce cones, which are these right here, to be either male or female. That is called dioecious, and you will learn that in the 7th grade. Then we have ginkgo, which is considered to be a living fossil. And the reason it's called a living fossil, as you know, fossils are something that have been dead for a very long time, is because we can date this specific plant back 270 million years, unchanged, still living. The trees are either male or female, again, dioecious, and their seeds are used as a medicine around the world. And the last example is called ephedra. So there are many different species of ephedra, which you can see right here in all these pictures. But they're used to create drugs such as ephedrine, which is a weight loss drug, and multiple other things. Now that I have finished with the gymnosperms, we are going to stop this lesson part 1, the Intro to Plants part 1 here, and I will continue with angiosperms in the next lesson.